This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
Al Jazeera's correspondent in Islamabad cited Pakistani military sources saying that 50 armed Taliban members were killed in Durat Adam Khail near Peshawar in clashes with the Pakistani forces in 2 days of fighting. According to the same sources, one Pakistani soldier was killed and huge quantities of weapons and ammunition were found by the security forces.
Confrontations between the Pakistani army and the Taliban movement are ongoing. The border areas between Pakistan and Afghanistan are between a rock and a hard place. According to the Pakistani side, dozens of Taliban fighters were killed during 2 days of violent clashes, which took place near Peshawar, one of the largest cities in northwestern Pakistan along the Afghan borders. The Pakistani soldiers were trying to establish their control over strategic tunnel. These ongoing battles, which have lasted for almost 2 months, come at a time when the new Pakistani leadership has taken office and as the Americans have been talking about changing their fighting strategy in Afghanistan and in Pakistan by carrying out cross-border attacks. Afghan and Pakistani officials said that they have been studying ways to form joint forces in coordination with the Americans to confront attacks that have become a burden on foreign, Pakistani and Afghan forces. Political observers believe that most of the involved parties appear to be in a crisis. The American army is about to change their fighting strategy to include carrying out cross-border attacks on safe havens of armed groups in Pakistan. However, the new Pakistani leadership said that it will not allow the United States to violate Pakistan's sovereignty under the pretext of fighting terrorism. If the Americans continue with the cross-border attacks, it will only increase the anger of the armed Taliban toward the Pakistani government. The cross-border attacks will also weaken the confidence of the Pakistani citizens in the new government. Meanwhile, the new Pakistani President Zardari said that in order to defeat his enemies, his government needs public support, which can only happen by decreasing civilian casualties in Pakistan.
Joining us is Al Jazeera's bureau chief in Islamabad, Ahmed Zaidan. Ahmed, what information do you have about the situation near Peshawar?
Yes, Tawfiq. Military operations have been ongoing for 2 days, during which the Pakistani army used helicopters, artillery, and tanks against Pakistan's Taliban in an area that is 20 kilometers away from Peshawar.
The
Pakistani army views the presence of these fighters as a direct threat to Peshawar, the capital of the northwestern Pakistani province. According to the Pakistani army, 50 armed Taliban members were killed and only one Pakistani soldier was killed. Of course, it is very difficult to verify the Pakistani information, especially due to the inability of journalists to reach this area. This is one point. The other point is that Pakistani forces have refrained from showing the bodies of these fighters as they have been doing in other tribal areas after the clashes with the armed Taliban fighters. The Pakistani army has been launching military operations in the tribal areas of Bajur for more than 1 month. This area is considered another Taliban stronghold in addition to the regions of southern and northern Waziristan. Afghanistan. As I said, battles have been ongoing for more than 1 month, during which warplanes have been used. According to Pakistani military sources, about 10 armed Taliban fighters were killed in the area. Yesterday, there were some clashes in another area called Shab Qatar.
According to eyewitnesses in the Somali capital, more than 19 people were killed in mortar shell attacks launched on residential areas in Mogadishu by the Somali government forces.
In addition, nearly 12 civilians were killed last night in mortar bomb explosions after clashes erupted south of the Somali capital between armed fighters from the jihadist youth movement and the African Union-led peacekeeping forces.
The residents of the southern Somali capital Mogadishu spend their day and night to the sounds of mortar bomb explosions. During the clashes, armed Islamic fighters and soldiers from the African peacekeeping forces exchanged fire using mortar shells and artillery. Some mortar shells have fallen in residential areas, killing several Somali citizens and wounding several others. According to eyewitnesses, the government forces fired mortar shells in residential areas in southern Mogadishu. This news comes after armed fighters from the jihadist youth movement launched 2 attacks on 2 positions which belonged to the African peacekeeping forces south of Mogadishu. Meanwhile, a spokesman for the African forces confirmed that the 2 African positions came under attack from different directions and that his forces fired back but denied any reports of casualties. The jihadist youth movement claimed responsibility for the 2 attacks, saying they have attacked 2 African positions. One is located in the area of Jazeera and the second is located in the area of the kilometer 4 south of Mogadishu.
مطار مقديشو كان هدفا أيضا لهجمات المسلحين الإسلاميين.
Furthermore, Mogadishu airport was targeted by armed Islamic fighters who launched a mortar shell attack on the airport moments after a civilian airplane landed there, breaking the ban imposed by the armed group on the use of the airport. The attack on the airport was followed by an exchange of rocket shells between the armed fighters on one side and the government and Ethiopian forces on the other. According to eyewitnesses, several Somali civilians were killed and several others were wounded in mortar shell explosions that targeted the residential areas south of Mogadishu. The residents said that the shells were fired from a military base belonging to the Somali army. In addition, mortar shells fell and exploded in the Bakar market, killing several merchants and shoppers, in an indication that the situation in Somalia is turning to the worse as the fighting continues to intensify, especially during the current month. This comes despite efforts by the United Nations to reach an agreement that will spare Somalia further casualties, especially after the armed Islamic fighters vowed to continue the fighting until the Ethiopian forces withdraw from the country.
ومعنا من مقديشو مصطفى كمال الأمين العام لمجلس المثقف الصومالي الحر. يبدو أن الخط انقطع.
In another development, the Somali police in the Puntland region were able to free a German hostage and his Somali wife, who were kidnapped by armed fighters on Saturday.
من ناحية أخرى تمكنت الشرطة في إقليم بونتلاند الصومالي من تحرير الماني وزوجته.
The Somali police raided the hideout of the kidnappers hours after the Minister of Information in the provincial government of Puntland pleaded to tribal leaders and religious scholars to participate in the efforts of freeing the 2 hostages.
القبائل وعلماء الدين المشاركة في محاولة إنقاذ هاتين الرهينتين.
أهلا بكم. أكد وزير السياحة المصري زهير قرانة أنه تلقى.
The Egyptian Minister of Tourism, Zuhair Garana, said that he received information this morning that may confirm that the kidnapped European tourists and their Egyptian companions are in good health. He denied news reports of death threats being made against the hostages. Sudan has confirmed that it has identified the whereabouts of the European and Egyptian hostages in the Awanat mountain on the borders, indicating that his country does not want to carry out an operation that may harm the hostages. An Egyptian official announced that the armed assailants who kidnapped the tourists threatened to kill them if the authorities tried to rescue them by air. The official, who asked to remain unidentified, said that the organizer of the tourist excursion to the desert border area had called his German wife and told her of the threat, which she, in turn, reported to the Egyptian authorities. Meanwhile, an Egyptian security source said that an Egyptian intelligence team left towards Sudan to monitor the efforts underway to release the kidnapped European tourists and their Egyptian companions. We will now turn to Cairo, where we have Al-Arabiya correspondent Renda Abul Azam. Renda, how is Cairo dealing with this file now after the Sudanese officials made these statements about the presence of the hostages in their territories?
نعم القاهرة تعلم أن المختطفون موجودون في السودان منذ ربما يومين.
Yes, Cairo knows that the hostages have been in Sudan for perhaps 2 days. A statement was released just moments ago. This statement is more coordinated today as opposed to the contradictory statements that were being made yesterday. This statement indicates that the Egyptian authorities have not made any direct contact with the hostages and that no ransom is being demanded of them for their release. The Egyptian authorities also have not received any death threats against the hostages if any action is made to free them. They confirmed that one of the hostages, the head of the tourist company, made a phone call to his German wife this morning and that they are all in good condition. We learned some things from some other sources that contradict the statement, that the ransom negotiations are not being conducted between the Egyptian authorities and the kidnappers. Rather, they're being conducted between the German authorities and the kidnappers, since the wife of the business owner is German and she has known everything since the beginning when her husband spoke to her after the kidnapping. The kidnapping took place last Friday. She may have immediately alerted the German authorities and also the Egyptian authorities as to the whereabouts of the kidnappers and hostages. This may have been known since the Egyptian army and the army intelligence has taken up this file from the beginning, and they have the capability to identify the whereabouts. However, there are also appeals being made by the Egyptian authorities to be cautious about publicizing any information that may cause harm to the hostages. This is what we have as of now. Now, some sources told us that the ransom of $6 million, which was demanded in the beginning, has now been reduced to $4 million. At this point, we don't know the current value in the negotiation process. However, there are phone contacts between the German authorities and the kidnappers. This is what we learned from some of our sources.
Renda, what is the secret about the contradictory information from the Egyptian authorities? We heard reports that the Egyptian authorities are dealing directly with the kidnappers through the German wife of the kidnapped Egyptian man. We also heard from Cairo that the kidnappers had released them. What about these contradictions?
This was yesterday. However, the Egyptian authorities' contact with the kidnappers and hostages is not only through the wife of the business owner. Contact is also being made by the intelligence agency and other communications, perhaps being made by Egyptian fronts. We do not know the details of this. Yesterday, there were contradictions between varying official sides. We were told that the hostages were released. Then seconds later, we were told that the negotiations were still underway. Perhaps there were some contradictions between all the various Egyptian agencies that have spoken about this file: the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the security agencies. Today, we can see better coordination in these statements, which are coming out almost regularly. This may be better for us in the media. So today there are no contradictions as there were yesterday.
Renda, you mentioned that there are German mediators, especially regarding the ransom. Did Cairo witness the arrival of any negotiating teams from Germany or even Italy?
The هذا يعني لم يفصح عنه لأنني تحدثت مع مسؤولون ألمان و
This information has not been provided. I spoke with the German and Italian authorities. Everyone is trying really hard to maintain secrecy about the ongoing communications and the negotiations. Thus, we don't know this now. Sources tell me that the negotiations are being conducted by the Germans. There are Italians there, but this may also explain what was said in the statement, that a ransom was not demanded of the Egyptians. Therefore, Egypt will not pay the ransom and is not a party to the negotiation process in relation to the ransom.
Renda Abu Azam, Al-Arabiya from Cairo. Thank you.
In occupied Jerusalem, the car attack on the Israeli soldiers by 19-year-old Palestinian Qasim Mughrabi still overshadows the political and security situations there. 19 Israelis, mostly military personnel, were injured in the attack. Meanwhile, some describe the attack as a routine road accident. Meanwhile, the Israeli occupation forces prevented Mughrabi's family from holding a mourning reception for him. Mughrabi's father demanded an explanation and proof that the incident was indeed an attack. On the other hand, many believe that Israel's random policies against the Palestinians are the main reason for these types of attacks. Sharouk Assad reports from occupied Jerusalem.
After the two bulldozer attacks, a third attack was launched in occupied Jerusalem. A 19-year-old Palestinian, Qasim Mughrabi, a resident of Jabal Mukhaber, facing threats of confiscation, ran down a group of Israelis, including several soldiers. Israel prevented Mughrabi's family from holding a mourning reception for him. Qasim's family believes that the incident was a routine road accident. However, they didn't rule out an attack, which they say is a natural response to the pressure of the occupation on them.
They need to prove to me what my son did was indeed an attack. Show me his testimony where he confesses to the attack.
They, the Israelis, are saying that the Palestinians are terrorists. No, they are the terrorists in the gangs. We are defending our land. It was an accident. Why did they have to kill him?
Others believe that what Qasim has done was a natural response to the pressure facing the Palestinians in occupied Jerusalem. During the holy month of Ramadan, Israel has heightened its security measures and transformed Jerusalem into a military base. It further isolated Al-Aqsa Mosque from Muslim worshippers and visitors. Amidst these policies, Qasim Mughrabi has lived and died in Jerusalem. Meanwhile, the youth of Jerusalem, who according to public polls account for 60% of the city's population, continue to live under these same conditions.
In my opinion, as long as there are occupation and oppression at all levels, it's only natural to see these types of responses.
The Palestinians in occupied Jerusalem are asking, how could Israel further oppress them in their city? The more that the pressure of the occupation mounts, the larger the response will be, with the latest rounds of responses coming from inside Jerusalem, and with individuals acting alone, something that has been preoccupying and causing worries to Israel, which needs to move quickly and find serious political solutions. Sharouk Assad, Dubai TV, occupied Jerusalem.
The United Nations General Assembly opened with much pomp and circumstance and protest as well. Controversy hovered over some guests, none more so than Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. IBA's Elisha Rabin has that story.
A smattering of world leaders are in New York for the UN General Assembly, but it was Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad who stirred the most controversy and interest in the city. Massive demonstrations that resembled those held last year when Ahmadinejad spoke to students at Columbia University brought traffic to a halt in some parts of Manhattan. The protesters were united against Iran's effort to develop nuclear weapons.
We are all here today to say, stop Iran now!
Ahmadinejad is scheduled to speak later today, and in a pre-speech interview with American radio outlet NPR, the Iranian leader insisted that his country has no conflict with the West and that Iran is a peaceful nation. Those words were spoken on American soil, but before going to New York, Ahmadinejad proclaimed that Iran will break the hands of any nation that attempts to rid the Islamic Republic of nuclear technology. That statement came with a specific threat to destroy Israel.
Hello everyone, we're going to go live now to New York. We're at the 63rd session of the UN General Assembly, where we just heard the leader of Lithuania speaking there, delivering his speech at the annual General Assembly. We're going to expect Mr. Ahmadinejad, the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, to deliver his speech. He's going to take the podium now, and there he goes, so let's listen in.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, today I would like to talk to you about the main reasons behind the conditions ruling the world and the means to tackle them. Of course, you're already aware of what I am talking about, but I think it is necessary to remind ourselves. It seems that the roots of problems lie in the way one views and perceives the world and humankind, as well as in the important issues of freedom, obeisance to God, and justice.
The Secretary General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Mohammed Al-Baradei, confirmed that there is no indication of any nuclear materials in Syria. Al-Baradei's confirmation came during his speech at the IAEA Board of Governors meeting in Vienna, which will last for 4 days to discuss the Iranian nuclear file.
The IAEA Board of Governors will take on the exclusive task amidst the possibility of nominating Syria and Iran to take a seat on the board.
On this note, once again, the way has been opened for Syria to present its proposal to make the region free from weapons of mass destruction.
مرة جديدة تؤكد الوكالة الدولية للطاقة الذرية على لسان مديرها العام محمد البرادعي.
Once again, the International Atomic Energy Agency Secretary General Mohammed Al-Baradei confirmed that the agency did not find any evidence that Syria was building a nuclear reactor, and there were no indications of any nuclear materials in Syria. Baradei's confirmation was in line with Syria's view that the region must be free from weapons of mass destruction, which Syria presented in the form of a draft resolution to the Security Council, which includes designating the Middle East as being free from weapons of mass destruction. The agency's confirmations and the new international equation are aimed at restraining Washington and stopping its pressure on Tehran.
وفيما سيركز اجتماع مجلس حكام الوكالة.
The IAEA Board of Governors meeting will focus until Thursday on the Iranian nuclear file, and most signs indicate that Syria and Iran will be nominated to take a seat on the board. They expect to find many facts and clarifications. The West insists that Iran is trying to possess nuclear weapons, while Washington ignores the danger of the nuclear arsenal, which Israel possesses. Israel possesses between 200 to 500 nuclear bombs and explosive devices. Regardless of the numbers, they are the most advanced nuclear weapons in the world and threaten millions. Despite the fact that Israel is a member of the International Atomic Energy Agency, it has not signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and refuses to reveal its program or allow the agency to inspect or monitor its facilities. All this comes with unprecedented support from the United States. Today, after the agency's repeated confirmations, it has become a duty for the international community to sort out the situation. They must define who represents a danger to the security of the region and the world, as well as who pushes the region towards greater tension.
The official spokesman for Iraq's rule of law security plan, Major General Qassam Atta, announced today that nearly 421 displaced families have returned to their homes in the Adel and Jamia neighborhoods in Baghdad. Atta's announcement came during a tour of the area. Atta was accompanied by the Minister of Displacement and Migration, Dr. Abed Samad Sultan, who said that the ministry is doing everything in its power to accommodate and meet the needs of the returnees.
Pursuant to Decree 101 issued by Iraq's Governing Council, which calls for the return of all displaced families to their original places of residence, the area of Adel and Jumayya neighborhoods witnessed a voluntary influx of returning Iraqi refugees.
Today, 421 displaced families returned to their homes in Adel neighborhood. The return comes in the framework of the rule of law security plan implemented in the country.
Iraq's Minister of Displacement and Migration confirmed that the Iraqi government is doing everything in its power to accommodate and meet the needs of the returnees.
The residents are still in need of further assistance. The ministry is starting a fund to help the returnees, God willing.
Our neighbors came out to voice their support and welcome us back. Thank God the area is secure and the situation is better than it was before.
We heard that the security situation had improved in the province, so we decided to return. Thank God.
We are providing protection and security to the returning families. We have deployed additional security patrols on foot and by car in the area.
The rule of law security plan has produced positive results and helped achieve what the Iraqi people are hoping for. The area of Adel and Jumayya neighborhoods, which witnessed today the return of hundreds of displaced Iraqi families, gave an accurate assessment of Iraq's National Reconciliation Initiative and highlighted the role of law enforcement agencies in the restoration of security and stability in the province.
In another development, Major General Qasim Atta announced the arrest of 11 Al-Qaeda terrorists in the province of Mada'an, south of Baghdad. Atta further said they have seized 30 rockets and a large cache of weapons and ammunition that was hidden in the area.
Furthermore, the Iraqi Defense Ministry announced the arrest of 54 suspects in sporadic military operations that were carried out in the past 24 hours across the country. In a statement, the ministry said they coordinated several sting operations in which they staged security checkpoints, set up military traps, and deployed additional military units at sea, air, and on the ground.
Meanwhile, the Iraqi army announced the arrest of 10 wanted suspects in connection with a string of criminal and terrorist activities in the province of Basra. According to a military source, the arrests were made during sweeps in the area of Latif, where a large cache of weapons and ammunition was also uncovered.
Elsewhere in Iraq, law enforcement agencies in the province of Thikar said that they have seized dozens of cars and motorcycles which don't have proper legal titles or registration. Meanwhile, Thikar Provincial Police Chief Brigadier General Sabah al-Fatlawi said that the crackdown comes in the context of the ongoing efforts aimed at strengthening security and stability in the province.
Arabs in Belgium are challenging the West and maintaining their identity. The name Muhammad was the #1 name in the capital, Brussels.
بروكسل عاصمة بلجيكا والتي تعتبر أيضا العاصمة الرسمية.
Brussels is the capital of Belgium. It is also considered the official capital of the European Union due to the large number of EU centers. Brussels is attractive to many Arabs who are used to migrating in search of better living conditions.
عرب بلجيكا رغبوا في الحفاظ على عروبتهم وهويتهم وازدادوا تمسكا بها في ظل الهجمة الشرسة.
The Arabs of Belgium wanted to maintain their Arab identity. They became more attached to this under the fierce attacks launched against them by Western countries, headed by the U.S. The beginning was demonstrated in choosing names with an Arabic flavor. The name Mohammed came first in the list of popular names in the capital of Belgium. It was number 7 in all of Belgium. According to the Belgian Census Bureau, 235 of newborns were named Mohammed in Brussels in 2007. The name Adam came second and was chosen by 169 families. The name Amin came 6th, and the two names of Ayub and Mahdi shared the 7th place. As for the most popular girl names in 2007, the name Aya came 3rd place, Yasmin came 4th, and Salma came 7th. According to an opinion poll published by Belgian media outlets, Muslims will constitute the majority of the population in Brussels in 20 years. This is because Arab migrants have more children than the original residents. Regardless of the situation, it is clear that the Arabs in the West hold on to their Arab identities, and the situation in Belgium is no different.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.